What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about a really important topic, how to qualify tenants. Now, if you're a landlord, you're an investor, you have an investment property, the last thing you want is to have a bad tenant. So pay attention. Let's go over this from start to finish, how we are going to help you qualify your tenant. So the first thing that you're going to do, you are advertising the property. Let's say you've already done that. You have a bunch of leads, you're getting your showings going. Now, during the showings, you want to make sure that you ask them the appropriate questions and try to remember the questions that you ask them. So when the application comes in, you can verify what they told you and see if you can catch them in any sort of lies. That's something that's important, so make sure you do that. Such questions, simple things like when are you looking to move? Why is that important? Because if they're looking to move within a couple days, there might be a red flag of an issue that they've had at their previous location. Other things, how many people are looking to live in the apartment or house? Reason for that is because if it is a one-bedroom apartment, last thing you want to do is waste your time with somebody that's looking to move in 4 or 5 people. It's just not going to work. You don't want to overcram your place. So ask that question. Do you have pets? All that sort of stuff is really important. So make sure that you ask the right questions, start it off like that, and make sure that things are off on the good foot.
And once you get a viewing schedule for this person, for this prospect, the one thing that you really want to do is to focus on the conversation with this person, because you do want to kind of find out what type of person he is or she is. It is very important to actually get a feel of the person's vibe, because if you're not going to get a good vibe during this showing process, you're probably not going to have a good experiences after they move into your apartment. Now, let's say after a long conversation with the prospect, you realize that this is a good fit and the tenant also show a lot of interest in your apartment. The next step is to actually show the rental application form. Now we're going to attach the link here to the rental application form that we use for our company so that you can actually take a quick look. This is a good example of how we're going to actually be doing all the due diligence for our prospect tenant.
Okay, so you've received your rental applications in from all your prospective tenants. Now you want to make sure that you get a piece of ID from them so that you can verify their full legal name and their age. The other part is you want to ask them for 3 months bank statements. Okay, so this is really important. You want to make sure that you can see their spending habits. Are they good? Are they bad? Do they spend a lot of money? Are they able to save a lot of money? And what is the current rent that they are paying right now? Is it more with the house that they're going to be moving into or less? This will help a lot when you're looking and reviewing their bank statements.
And also, very importantly, you can actually see if they're paying their rent on time, right? If it's consistently 2, 3, 4, 5 days late, then you know you might actually going to have the same issue with this tenant.
The last thing you want to make sure, the most important thing you want to make sure when looking at the bank statements is their employment income. What they tell you versus what you see are two totally different things. So if somebody says they're making $6,000 a month, you want to make sure when you look through their 3 months of bank statements that you actually see that coming in. If not, something is off, you need to check that out.
The next one would be the difference between the credit score and credit report. A lot of landlords are only checking the credit score. However, what we've been noticing is that credit reports is something that you really need to kind of dive into and try to figure out what kind of liability or debt that they might have.
The other thing that the credit report will show is how much reoccurring payments they have. Is it revolving? How much is left over? What they owe? All that stuff. So you want to do your own due diligence and add all of that up. See what their monthly payments are that they have to make, plus their rent, then take a look at their income and see how much they would actually have left over after spending that money. Because, you know, if they're a tenant, they have kids, family, all that stuff, and you don't see that there's a lot left over after doing your calculations, then guess what? If anything happens to that tenant, there's any issues in their life where they have to spend some money, they're not gonna be able to afford their rent. So make sure you do that due diligence as well.
Another example is that students, sometimes they may not have a good credit just because they haven't had enough time to build up their credit. Or when I say students, I'm also including the recent graduate. These type of tenants, they may not have a good credit score. However, they do have a good job, and from the credit report, you can actually see that there's not a lot of debt. So those are still going to be ideal tenants that you might want to consider. So the point here is that credit score versus credit report, always dive right into credit report. Credit score is just something that you want to consider, but it's not everything everything that you want to know.
Now let's talk about the reference calls on the previous landlords. You like what you see, everything is good. Now you want to do your reference checks. Now we always ask for 2 previous landlords. Now the reason for this is because we don't actually call the landlord of the house they're currently living in. The reason why we don't do that is because, let's be honest, if they're a bad tenant, that landlord just wants them out. They're not gonna tell you the truth. They're gonna tell you everything you wanna hear so that you can take away their problem. So what we actually do is we call the previous landlord before that one. That person doesn't have that tenant in their house anymore. They're gonna tell you the truth. They'll let you know if they would rent to them again. Trust me, that's what you wanna do. They're gonna be honest. Same thing with work. Call the management, make sure that they have been honest with you about how long they've been working there for, what they're making, all that stuff. You can verify that with their manager. Do your due diligence on that, it's super important.
Yeah, with a work reference check is actually extremely important because there are a lot of information you can actually verify: their income, their starting date, even their work performance, and whether or not they are always going to be at work on time. All those information is very critical because it really tells you how responsible this person is going to be. And again, that's going to reflect on the rent payment that they're going to make to you on a monthly basis. And another thing that we will actually do is to check out their social media on Instagram, on Facebook. The things that they're posting on a regular basis also tells you what kind of person they are.
So yeah, if everything checks out, that's perfect. If not, you might still have a couple questions left over. You can also ask that tenant if they have a guarantor, also known as a co-signer. And if it is a co-signer, we prefer to make sure that it's a family member, not just a friend, somebody that's close to them. And when they do find their guarantor that they send to you, you want to make sure that you also collect all the same information as well from them. Make sure it's a strong candidate. So when you have that co-signer, you know it's a good tenant and it's the right fit.
And last part is that please, guys, do not rush this process. Have a right expectation from the very beginning. It will take some time for you to find the qualified tenants. Don't rush it. Don't try to shoot for the highest rate in the market. Those type of wrong expectation might actually get you to miss some of the red flags. So it is very important to take this process slow. If you make one mistake, it can take 8 to 10 months to actually get the tenants out. That's gonna be crazy.
It's true, guys. Of course, you want to have a tenant in your investment property. We always say, though, a vacant property is better than a bad tenant any day of the week. Take your time, make sure you qualify your tenant and get the right one. We hope this video helped, guys. Don't forget, like it and subscribe down below, and we'll see you guys next time.